everybody, I'm Steph Hodge with BoardGameGeek here with John of Genius Games, and today we get to look at On the Origin of Species. How you doing, John?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
Yeah, no, I've been excited about this game since I first learned about it at Essen, so it's very exciting that you picked it up to bring over to the U.S. to distribute here. So tell me all about it, starting with about why you decided to take it on as a project and why you fell in love with it.
Yeah, so it's an interesting backstory. So in 2019, last year, we were working really closely with another company called Artana Games, and we ended up merging our companies Artana and Genius, with Genius taking over most of the business side. So we've been looking for more titles that can fit into the Artana line, and they focus mainly on science history kinds of themes, things like that, Tesla versus Edison, Einstein, Lovelace and Babbage. And so when I first saw this game, I was very intrigued because we're looking for things like this for the Artana line. And I actually saw it through Man vs. Meeple. They were doing a preview for Essen. And so I watched the gameplay and I thought, wow, it's a fun little game. It's some clever mechanisms. It's not too heavy, and the art is just gorgeous. So we reached out to the publishers and said, hey, we want to license the game before Essen, because I was pretty sure that another publisher would be interested and pick it up at Essen. And we inked the deal before Essen even started. So it was a very fast turnaround. Yeah, we were pretty happy with it.
That's excellent. And so how many people does it play? What's the general goal of this game?
Yeah, so 2 to 4 players. What you're doing in the game is you're taking on the role of a research scientist along with Darwin on the HMS Beagle, and you will be taking a journey. And you can see the HMS Beagle down there in the lower right hand corner. There you go. You'll be moving that Beagle throughout the Galapagos Islands as you are observing the different species in the land, in the sea, and in the air. And as you're doing that research, what you're trying to do is basically identify the natural history of each of these species and identify how different traits overlap. And as you do that, you can discover new species along the way, and discovering new species is how you score points in the game. And you'll see at the top left, you've got those little turtles, and they're screen printed. Those we love. We spent a lot of time figuring out what we should use as those objects, but they're really cute, and they are what basically track your points throughout the game. And you score points anytime you discover new species. And once the HMS Beagle reaches the end of its journey at the top left of the board, the game ends, and the player, obviously with the most points, wins.
Excellent. I do. The artwork is just stunning. Like it is a looker for sure. So that is very, very beautiful. Definitely the first thing you see is just beautiful map with boat, and the box cover is all the pencil drawing. Oh, everything about this game is very beautiful. So kudos for that.
Yeah, and I'm a sucker for 3D printed or for screen printed wood components, and I'm especially a sucker for the backgrounds like this of maps on a board. I think it's
I love that.
Very appealing. Yeah.
Yes,
and the game is thematic in that the journey you're going on is fairly accurate to the locations that Darwin during this exploration landed, in the areas he was at and the species he was researching. So it's pretty interesting thematically. You're actually going to pick up a little bit of the information from the journey as well, which obviously is important to us as Genius Games and Artana Games. So yeah, we're excited about it.
Yeah, absolutely. So do you want to walk us through a little bit of how we go about setting up and going through a first couple turns?
Yes. Sure, that would be great. Yeah, we can walk through a few turns. Okay, so you'll notice on the left-hand side of the board, you have these tiles in a line. This is these are the species tiles that you will be trying to discover throughout the game. In the middle of the board, you have 3 initial tiles that you're starting with. And right there. And the blue one represents the water. The green represents the land there. And then the feather, the yellow, represents the air. And before I actually explain what to do with these, let me move to the right side of the board. Now you'll notice at the top, these are your habitat knowledge cards at the top, and they're just going to do special things like give you additional resources and some in-game scoring, things like that. Just below that, there you go, some on the Origin of Species book on that last card that we just saw. The cards right below that, this is the Beagle deck, and these represent different people or tools or things like that that you can actually use in the game to power up your turns, basically. Yep, that deck right there. And then just below that are Darwin's journals. And now these are going to represent milestones that we're going to score points at throughout the game. And so as the Beagle moves through the Galapagos, what will happen is you'll hit those objective markers, and you can see the objective markers are like the little anchors that are on the board at those different locations. And so, yep, right there, we could grab one of that objective marker. Now what we'll do is we'll pull the top card of each of those decks, and that will give us a date that objective occurred, and the objective markers, which are the little anchors, are going to go on those dates throughout the journey. Now it's a little too small for me to see, but yeah, there we go. At the yeah, you'll see the first one is 1010, I think 1835. So the one objective marker will go there, and then another one at 10:5, 1835, I think, and 9:16, 1835. And so what will happen throughout the game as we're scoring points, when the Beagle hits the objective marker for that Darwin's Journal card, players are it's going to trigger basically a scoring event, and players could potentially score points based upon resources they have and cards they have and that kind of thing. Okay, but I haven't actually explained how to take a turn. So why don't we explain
how to
take a turn?
Before we move on, I just had a quick question. Are there only ever going to be 3 in the game, or once somebody completes one, then the next one will get revealed? Or they all
actually get revealed at the beginning. Yeah, so we'll reveal reveal one of each of them, and so everyone is going to see how each of these events is scored from the very beginning of the game.
Very cool. Okay, sorry about that. I just wanted to know if that's just once.
Yeah, no, that's okay. Okay, so on a player's turn, you'll notice you've got a bunch of colored cubes in front of you down there in the bottom. So let's say that I'm purple player, and Steph, let's say that you are that kind of red-orange player there. And you'll notice at the top we have our turtles that mark our color as well. And then let's say we have white in as well. We'll play a 3-player game. Now on your turn, you really have 2 options. You can observe the species that are there. And at the beginning of the game, the position we're in right now, it's very simple. You only have 3 species that you can observe. Or you can discover a new species. And those are the ones that are on the left-hand side down the evolution track there. Now, we don't have any resources on the board yet, so we can't discover any of those. So our first action is going to be very simple. I'm going to take 2 cubes, and it's basically always 2 cubes, and I'm going to place them on any 2 of the tiles. They have to be different tiles. Now, what am I looking for when I place this? I am looking at the resources required to complete some of those species tiles on the left. So I can see, now I've kind of got to look in here pretty close. I think yeah, maybe hold those up so we can see. Now at the top left of that tile, you'll see the resources required. So this beetle here, both of them are beetles. One of them requires 2, I think it's wild. It looks like the screen is actually kind of cutting through. But the top left one looks like, I think it's 2 wild. And the top right tile there says 2 leaves, which are 2 land icons. Now the one just to the right of that tile, the new one that just came in on the top right, that's 5 land icons and 3 wild icons, right? And then now the bird that's in the middle left, if you look at the top of there, those resources show you need 2 leaves, 1 feather, and 2 wild. So those are the costs for actually completing that tile or discovering that species, right? So what I'm looking at is what resources do I want to start building up on the board? Because when I place my cubes on the tiles on the board, those are actually going to act as resources. I discover these new tiles by taking those resources off of species that I've already observed. Okay. So I might go ahead and let's place one of my cubes on the green tile in the middle of the board and one of them on the yellow tile. And then that would be the end of my turn for now. And then it would be the next player's turn. So Steph, let's see here. So you maybe could place one of your orange observation cubes on the green and then one on, let's say, the blue tile.
Yeah, sounds good.
There we go. And then now the white player, you basically, you have two options. You have three options here. You could mimic me, you could mimic Steph, or you could do something totally different and place one on orange and one on blue. And let's say you do that for now. You place one on orange, one on yellow and one on blue.
Yellow.
Now it's back to me. Now, if I actually, if there was any tile that required one green and one yellow, I could discover it right now because I have I've observed those species. It doesn't look like there is yet, but I'm going to place one of my purple cubes on, let's say, green and one on blue now. And then now, Steph, it would be your turn to place wherever you want.
I'll do blue and yellow.
There you go, blue and yellow.
Yeah.
And then white player, did they want to make a decision or should we make it for them?
Nikki will decide.
There we go. Great. Okay, now on my turn, it looks like the bottom left tile it requires two leaves, right? Is that correct? Am I seeing that?
Yep.
Okay, great. So what I could do is I could take both of my cubes off of the green tile that's in the middle of the board. And by taking those cubes off, it represents that I have done two observations of that land species, and I now can purchase that species tile on the bottom left. Now, what I'm going to do with it, if you look at the very bottom, it's going to tell you what I score right now. So it's going to tell us I score 1 point, so I get to move my little turtle up to the 2 spot. I get to take one green card, which is the land knowledge. Yep, there you go. So that is going to be my card now. And let's see what that thing was. Okay. Those are books. Those are good for all the milestone events that score and in-game scoring. I could score points for those. So I'll set that aside for now. And then the last thing that tile tells me to do is it says to move the HMS Beagle up by 1 space. So you'll notice it has one arrow underneath it. So that means I move it up 1 space. Now, each time a new species is discovered, there you go, perfect. Each time a new species is discovered, we're going to move that beagle up. Sometimes it's 1 space, sometimes it's 2. And you'll notice now that the beagle is 2 spaces away from the first scoring event. So that's something that we're now paying attention to. And the first scoring event, what is the first scoring event there? I can't see. Could you grab the card on the left, off of the board, sorry. The one to, or sorry, not left, I said left, I'm backwards here. The 3 cards on the right side of the board, that is what I meant. The first scoring event that represents that objective marker. Yeah, right in there. Whichever one represents, okay, so the player with the most blue observation cubes, which is observing water species, they are going to score 4 points. The player with the second most is going to score 3 points, and the player with the third most, does it say 2 or 1? I actually can't read it.
1.
It's so small. 1. Okay, perfect. So one thing to be thinking about is if you have a lot of blue cubes on the board, or if you have the most, you're going to score 4 points. So as we take our next couple actions, that's something that players might want to do. Okay, and I took my turn, so it now is Steph's. Oh, one thing, sorry, I forgot. That tile that I just completed. Okay, what we do with that tile is we flip it face down on top of the board in any location that is connected to where we pulled our resources. Right, so I pulled it from that green tile. So let's see, I'll put it in that spot that connects the yellow and the green. See that one?
Two spots.
Right there. Now that becomes an additional tile for us to place cubes on. And what's going to happen is some of these tiles, the resources they provide you, they're going to give you 2 or even 3 of that type of resource, right? So the engine is going to start to build up here as we discover new species. Okay, now last thing I got to
Okay.
do is I have to fill in that spot. So I'm going to choose any one of those tiles from the left side, the 4 stacks. And let's say I choose the one in the bottom, let's just say. Now, what's the value on the bottom left of that? Okay, it's a 1. We are going to, if it is higher, we're going to put it on top of any numbers that are the same or lower than it. So if we look at the, as an example, if that was a 4, it would go at the very top of that track. If it's a 1, it'll just go above any other ones, and we scoot any other ones down. Is there a 1 there? Is that a 1? There we go. Perfect. So if that had been, say, a 4, it'd go at the top. If it was a 2, it'd go in between the 2s and the 3s. Okay, Steph, now it is your turn.
Out of curiosity, why does that matter as much?
It matters for a couple reasons. One, you'll notice the top 3 tiles, there's a little map next to them, right? So you can't actually discover those tiles unless you have that map. And that allows you to discover those. Also, what you can do is you can discover a species and place it over top of another tile that's already on the board, as long as it's of a higher level. So we're always scooting the lower ones down, and the lower ones are easier to make, basically easier to discover. And if you were to cover up a previous tile on the board, you'll score additional points at the end of the game for each of the tiles that you have removed. Okay, so let's see here. You have, what are your resources?
I could do the bottom 2 things. However, I think I want to not spend both of my blues because there's a goal for blues coming up. So let's do the one you just put out there, Nikki. It cost me 1 blue and 2 of my other cubes. Not blue.
There you go.
They're wild, right? So
it's wild. It can be anything.
That one.
Now, the only thing you have to consider is the tile that you just discovered. It has to touch both of the areas you take your resources from. So if you take it from a blue, right? It has to touch. It has to be around that blue tile, and it has to touch whatever other tile you take a resource from.
So can I do this with the 1 blue cube, 1 yellow cube, and 1 green cube and put it right in the middle?
You definitely can. Yep.
That's what I'll do.
Okay, and you flip it over, put it right in the center there.
I'm sorry, I missed where you said you wanted it.
Right in the middle between all of them. This dead center.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Yep,
and so you have to take 1 blue cube and 1 green cube for orange / red /
Yeah, so orange will remove 1 cube from the blue tile, 1 cube from the green tile, and 1 cube from the yellow tile to pay for that.
Yeah, she already removed one of the yellow ones.
Oh, got it.
Yeah, one of those. Nope, orange. Yeah.
There you go.
There you go.
Perfect.
Now I'm all cut up.
Okay,
so I get a blue card, right? And the ship moves
Yep.
1 space.
That's right. You get the blue card. There we go. All right.
Yeah.
So you get some
okay,
books
so that's
for
mine.
in-game scoring, and then the beagle will move forward.
Yep. And then I think that was my turn.
Yep. Now you have 2 yellow, you have a blue, and you have a green. Oh, and you get to choose which new tile you want to place in there.
Oh, I'll do the pretzel.
Now, at this point, you can.
I know it's not a pretzel, but it looks like a pretzel.
There you go. All right, and that's a level 2, so it pushes any 1s or 2s down and goes just above them.
Okay.
There we go. Perfect. All right. So
we do have a question. If anybody can we play this online anywhere that you know that you can point us?
Right now, I don't think it is online. We did well. We were for Gen Con. We were doing a few different events through Double Exposure through Envoy. So I think they have it on Tabletop Simulator, but I think those events are all sold out. So I'm not sure if you can access that anymore or not. When it's over, we should have it available, and you guys can reach out to me, and we can figure out a way for you to play it online afterwards. But for Gen Con, I think those events are sold out.
So Nikki, I'm not sure you had enough resources to build this card.
Yeah, because it's
You
two
needed
green,
2
one
green.
yellow, and then 2 wild, and that's 5 total. So you could
She had
instead,
2
just
yellow,
place more out there. Now, one of the things you could think about here, Nikki, you could put more on the blue one, because when the beagle hits that first objective marker, the player
You'll get
with
more
the
points.
most on blue is going to score those 4 points.
Yeah.
So that
And you
might
are
be a
limited
smart
on
place
cubes, right?
Yeah, that's right. You can move them from one spot to another, but you once you're out, you've got to just try to discover. Okay.
Yeah, okay, cool.
It is my turn, huh? I am gonna place, or did you finish your turn, Nikki?
I think so. I
Yeah.
think we are
So
just about
cubes.
out of time, so I want to make sure
Sure.
that you get to talk about it and whatever else you have
Yeah.
coming. So, is this on the origin of species? So this is available now.
It is not available yet. The street date was going to be end of August, but we had to push it back a little bit. Just about a week ago, we had to announce we pushed it back, and that was because a lot of stuff coming out of the ports in China right now are getting backed up, and manufacturing was a little bit behind on this. It should be arriving in our warehouse in the middle of, I want to say, August, hopefully, and then we're going to ship it out to all of our backers, our Kickstarter backers first, and then it will be in retail. September 16th is the retail street date. So hopefully we'll make that date.
Perfect. I mean, that's coming up, so we can get our hands on this juicy game.
That's right. That's right.
What else do you have in the works? Well, we have a few minutes, so tell us what you got.
Yeah. Yeah, so another game that we're really happy with is Genotype, a Mendelian genetics game.
Oh, yeah.
That is starting to print, I think next week. We have our pre-production copy coming this week. Everything should be good, and as long as it's good, we're going to start printing. We are a little bit behind on production on that one as well, but that should be out in December. Now, Genotype is a worker placement dice drafting game. It's unique because the workers, when you place them, in a lot of worker placement games, the main thing you're doing is placing workers to build something. But in here, the worker placement is very, I want to say dainty, light. You're placing your workers so you can get better options when you draft your dice. It's really clever. And you're drafting dice out of Punnett squares, just like in Mendelian genetics, to validate traits on your pea plants. It's a great game. The art is gorgeous. You can find it online. You can go to the Kickstarter page, or you can see it on BGG. You can find it in a few different places. So yeah, we're excited about that one. We are doing a plant cell version of Cytosis. Cytosis is probably the biggest game we have, our best-selling game. Cytosis, a cell biology game. We're doing a plant cell version, and it is amazing. I'm biased, but it's amazing. That will hopefully
really
be hitting
cool.
Kickstarter later this year. Yeah, and so those are the main ones we have coming out besides the anatomy puzzles. But that's not a game, it's a puzzle. But we still like them.
Yes, no, of course. Especially during all of this quarantine, everybody's doing puzzles, so that's really exciting for those puzzle fans out there. Excellent. Thank you so much, John, for showing us on the origin of species. We will be looking for this in September. You have been a pleasure.
Thank you so much. You guys have a good day.